Now, so what this is just all about summarily is to gain proficiency in the use of MS project scheduling tool. MS project scheduling tool. Some of us already have knowledge. I know a bit of us on this, in this class who are already using the software. But there are a lot of things I do with the software. And like I was telling the accountants about 4 weeks ago, I was talking on a platform. They call it the Accountants Hub. And they were surprised when I tell them that I do cash flows that looks more accurate than what the accountants do. And I use MS Project scheduling too. And it's because I am doing my cash flow from a point of I know my activities, I know what time they are coming. So it's a very powerful tool. So even if you have started using the software, I want you to just, take the next 3 classes and the 2 weeks of the one-on-one tutelage, a bit more closely, give a bit of close attention so that you can get what you are going to be proficiency, the kind of proficiency that I have designed this course for. I'm going to show us a sample of some of the things I've done with MS Project, shortly before we go into the main class, so that we just have an idea of, what we are going to be, looking at in the next 3 days. Now, I know some of you already looked at this, but let me just give a rundown of what this training is about. Can I confirm if you can still hear me, please? Just use the chat box. Once I get to confirmation, I will continue. Okay, thank you very much, Banker. Thank you. Thank you, Dennis. All right, so I'll continue. Now, the training schedule, I'll just take us through it. Today's class is what we have, the first green, column, right? Now, we're going to be just looking at basically WBS. We'll understand the MS project. Then I want to take my time to explain some terms that we need to understand to be able to get accurate schedules and accurate, costings on our project. The reason is because if you don't understand the terms and you don't use the relationships well, it will end up affecting whatever report we are generating, especially our cash flow. Then, when we are done with today's class, I'm going to give an assignment. This assignment is going to form where we are going to continue our next class, which is Saturday from. So starting from today to the next 2 weeks, you are working on anything on MS Project, any part of it. You are free to just DM me and we can quickly do a 30 minutes meeting at your own convenience. That's part of the package. Then, of course, day 2, we'll dive a little bit deeper how to use MS Project for to get our critical path. And then the work on Saturday is assigning resources to tasks. Assigning resources to tasks. Now, it is in this assigning resources to tasks that helps you to generate material schedule. You can generate your procurement plan. Then you can generate your cash flow if you accurately assign resources. So Saturday class is going to be a bit intensive, a bit calculative, and a bit analytical, because if you miss that part, whatever report and statistics you are going to be generating from your MS project will be wrong, right? After that, I'm going to give another assignment, which is going to be a larger project now, and you will be expected to assign resources on every of your activities. So you have 1 week to do that. In the space of that 1 week, from 16th to 21st, you can also drop in on me in my inbox, and we can have a one-on-one meeting outside the class. I can just do a 30-minute Zoom with you, or I can do 30 minutes per individual who has a challenge 2 times in a week. The last class, that's where I'm going to be teaching us how to generate project statistics, how to come up with your cash flows and project report. I'm going to show you guys a bit of samples before we go, because if I show you samples of what I've done with MS Project, it gives us an idea of how far we are going to go. Then after that, of course, like I said, from 16th to 29th of July, I'm going to be having 15 to 30 minutes tutelage to ensure that we have a full grasp of the project. So I think that explains the timetable for those of us who got the schedule and we didn't quite understand us. All right, can I confirm that we are still following me? Just one confirmation and I'm going. Can we still hear me? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So let me just go ahead. Now, what are we doing today? Today's class, we'll look at MS Project. What is MS Project? We're going to look at advantages of mastering this tool. Then we're going to look at the endless possibilities, what you can do with this MS Project, areas you can apply it. I'm going to show you samples of things I have done with MS Project today. Then we're going to look at WBS and scheduling process. We'll look at definition of some terms. Then I will introduce us to tabs, ribbons. We'll take question and answer. I will give an assignment, and then we'll close the class for today, and we'll see, next week on Saturday. All right. Now, this next slide I'm going to show, right, is because though most of the people registered today, aside one or two persons who I'm not sure have joined the class yet, know me a bit. But for those who don't know me, like after the last class, some were asking, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself, right? I'm an architect by training. Okay, I'm also PMP certified since 2016. Yes, 2016. Then I have an MBA in finance and investment. My love for figures, and at a point I stopped like I deviated from architecture a bit, and I started doing a lot of projects, analysis and viability. So I knew I needed to get that degree to be able to move ahead. So I went for finance and investment, MBA. Now I have over 12 years of experience now, project initiation, appraisal, case studies, financial analysis. I am leading a project management office. PMO is a project management office. I pioneered that, office, and I'm still leading it. Now, I have initiated and managed projects worth over between about 4 to 6 billion, actually. So all the projects all around, both in Abuja, Greater Abuja, actually, and Lagos. And I've been able to manage over 1,000 units of homes under my portfolio. I did over 1,000 a year in around Abuja here, and of course 800 in Lagos before I relocated to Abuja in 2011. I manage a private consultancy firm called Justot Consult and Projects Limited, and I have a YouTube series where I anchor. It's called Project Success Switch with Joe. So I have a lot of lessons there. I have a lot of teachings there. Some of my teachings that are not paid for, I upload them on that YouTube series. Sometimes I do them live. Sometimes I just record. This one is a paid version, so it will not be on the YouTube page. It will only be available for people who paid for it and people who will pay for the bundle in future. But if you go on YouTube and you search Project Success Switch, I have a lot of free videos there that I've done that you can take advantage of. And of course, that's me over there. So let's run quickly. Number one, what is MS Project? I am going to run over these definitions because I want to pitch my camp in the place I call definition of terms and the introduction to MS Project. So MS Project, because some of us already know it, I won't waste too much time here, is a project management software that is used to create schedules, project plans. You can manage your resources, and then you keep track of time. Like I said, when I show samples later, you will see what I mean by keeping track of time and managing your project resources. But it's a project management software. It's a scheduling tool. You can use it to plan your project. You can use it to update information. Now, projects entered, if you begin to use MS Project, you will see that once I introduce us to the interface, it comes in sheets, in tables, and in charts. So I'm going to make this slide available to us, so I will not, waste much time there. Now, I have this section that I've called Endless Possibility, right? Now, under this section, I'll stop sharing my slide. What I will show us in this session is some of the things I have used MS Project to do. And that's to just whet your appetite towards what you will start doing by the time you are done with this training, right? So let me just quickly run through some of these, advantages. Now, you can keep your baseline in one place. It can help you with your reporting at a glance. So in one piece, you can actually see what your cost is doing, where you are overspending, what are your actuals and all that. Now, it can help you automatically calculate figures and durations, right? Now, the thing is, when it's a small project, you can easily say, oh, I can do this thing in maybe 10, 15, 20 days by maybe adding the durations together. But when you have a project that you have maybe 12 months and it's going to take about maybe 200 and something working days, it can become very cumbersome for your brain to handle. So at that moment, you will need to be able to, you will need to be able to need a software that will help you calculate that. So then it's easy to use and compatible with other MS Office suites. So you can actually start your work in spreadsheet, that's Excel, and then just copy and bring it to MS Project. It's easy to use and it's compatible with MS Office suite, whether you're using Word, PowerPoint. From this PowerPoint, I can take it there. It's compatible. It helps you put professional touch to your proposals and financial analysis. Now, I'm going to show us a sample of all this. When clients approach me to help them model a project, there are people, for instance, I have one I'm working on now. They want to do a 630,000 units at Idu, but before they take off, they want to know, how much should they, loan? Do they have to loan all the money? What's the cash flow like? So before I do that, I'll need to schedule the project first, get their BOQ, assign my resources on MS Project, and then I can easily generate cash flow for them. Because I'm a project person, my own is likely to be more accurate than if an accountant does a cash flow for them, immediately. Now, so I'm going to show us a sample of that. Then, of course, you can accurately generate material schedule once you have imputed it, because you did it task by task. Those of us who attended my last class, I talk about bottom-up estimate, right? If you remember, the bottom-up estimate where you have broken it into task by task, because you have assigned your material, each task, the number of materials going there and their quantity. So if you have 3 types of materials and each of them have a unit of maybe 10, 15, 20, it's easy for you at the end of the day to collate and say, this is the material requirements for the project. So these are possibilities you can have with MS Project. So let me just show us a bit of sample. Then we now go to project scheduling, right? So I will stop sharing now and then show us a bit of samples, right? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to be showing us, right, is I'm going to be showing us, a call I got from Lagos recently. A friend just called me from the Blues that they are coming into Abuja and they have a site in Apoduse. Now, what does it take? They are new and all that. So, of course, I gave them my fees and I told them what to take to do it. And I'll just show us what I did and where I needed, this kind of scheduling technique to be able to help me finalize my proposal. Now it's let me share my screen again now. So I'll show us about 5 samples and then we can go ahead. Now this is called, can we see my screen right now? Can we see my screen? Okay, Mr. Zamfara, you are welcome. I just saw your message now. So the Techno C thing, Mr. Zamfara, thank you very much for coming around all the way from Jos, right? Yes, I think you said Jos. So thank you, Mr. Zamfara, for coming to class today. Now, I'm going to share the recording so you don't have to worry much about the parts you have missed before now. So now, what you are seeing on the screen is what I just titled it, Feasibility and Financial Modeling for 55 Units of Further Development in Apoduse. Now, by the time I finished, and of course, I requested for drawings, I requested for 1 or 2 things. Then, of course, I was able to get the total sum of their project. their budgets. I got their budget there. Now, this is the part I want you guys to look at very well. This plus, I call it high level work program. If you see it there, it's high level because it's just summary, prelims, marketing costs, admin costs, housing costs, infrastructure costs, and snagging. Now, this because we have not broken it up into detailed projects, all I did was to give them a budget, and I manually did what I called a schedule, just like what is expected, how long each of this is going to take. Month 1 to 6, month 3 to 18, marketing. Then admin costs will run month 1 to month 4. Then the housing costs will run from month 6 all the way to month 24. Now, this I did in spreadsheet, but because it's a small project, for a large project, I will use MS Project. Now, let me show us what this will translate to at the end of the day, which is where. Now, let me just say something here, right? If a client asks you to do a project or manage a project for him, it's actually possible to just go to site and begin to do it based on experience. But when you now meet a client who wants to have documentations, MS Project, if you understand how to generate cash flow reports and do all these figures for a project using MS Project, it just gives the client a bit of more confidence that, oh, this guy actually knows what he's doing, number one. Then it helps you to help your client, and it helps your client to help you, in the sense that once you take your time to schedule, I'm going to zoom a bit now. Once you take your time to schedule your client's project and assign resources and generate a cash flow. Now, once you are done scheduling and assigning resources, you actually don't have much work to do. Everything just flows. For this particular client now, I told them that in month 1, how much they need. I told them that their budget is their total budget is about 4 million to start with. 4 billion to start with, right? But in month 1, they need just 85 million. In month 2, 63 million. In month 3, 108 million. So the client can actually plan how to raise each of this money for you on a monthly basis. MS Project can help you to do all this. Now, this is just one sample, right? Now, let me show you something else, a personal work that I did for a client. This client is in Enugu, and I'll just show you what the cash flow looks like. I used a different version of MS Project to generate this. Like I said, I'm showing us this sample so that we can begin to know that beyond entering activities and just knowing start date and end date, there are much more that you can do with MS Project. All right, I'm sharing my screen again. Now, I'll just run down to where I think I want to show. Now, this is the way MS Project 2007 to 2010, this is how they generate their own cash flow. So this cash flow, I didn't stress my head to do it manually in a spreadsheet. I generated it from MS Project. And it gives, once I send to the client in the body of the proposal, this proposal, I think, is about 30-something pages. So what happens is that the client just knows straight away whether he needs to go to the bank to get loan in month 1, or he needs to make some sales off plan to generate in month 2. And if he needs money in month 2, how much sales does he need to get? So it can help the client to plan, and you can help the client to also plan his money and his what he needs to do. All right, I'm going to show us another sample. It's one of the projects that we just started. I'll just show us in a spreadsheet, but I'll tell us the fact that we can do it using MS Project. Now, if we can see my screen, this is a typical project schedule using MS Project. So this is actually an MS Project interface you are seeing now. And if you see there, I have different items and budgets for each of the items. This is MS project. Number one, land budget for land, drain work, culvert work, and all that. Now, the resource is not completely loaded yet. Now, for this particular one, this is what the cash flow looked like. For this particular, this is what the cash flow looked like. I'm taking us through all this first so that when we begin to use it, like from Saturday, we begin to generate cash flow, you'll be able to relate with what I want us to be able to do with MS Project eventually. Now, this is that same schedule I showed us on MS Project. This is it in spreadsheets. Spreadsheets didn't do it automatically for me. I did this one manually now. Can we see my budget for each line item? Then because it's a short-term project, it's a site and services project, it's just for 10 weeks. So instead of doing it in months, I have done it in weeks here. So it helps my organization now to know that week one, how much is management disbursing? Week two, how much is management disbursing? You can see the total there. All we need in week two is 1.1 million. In week three, we are not doing much. It's just 100,000. In week week four, rather, we need 2.4 million. So my management will just stay and go, they'll be thinking ahead. Even the accounts team will be thinking ahead. I don't need to wait for accounts to do this cash flow for me. In week 5, 1.8 million. In week 6, 3.8 million. At the end of the day, when I give my client a budget of maybe 15 million to disburse to me, he's not wondering what is the guy doing with 15 million. He knows how I'm spending it each week on a weekly basis. And this you can generate automatically from MS Project, right? Okay, so I think I will just show us a sample of one complex project that we did with MS Project and some of the informations that we add on it. Once I show us that, I will be able to just go ahead with my class today. Now, let me show us this, but I'll show it to us in PDF. Okay, so can you confirm that you can see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can see, sir.
Now, I'm sure we have an idea what I was trying to get at. I wanted to just show us as many samples as I can to give us the possibilities that we can enjoy with the MS project. So let me skip the samples and then go to the class proper. Now, let's look at project scheduling, right? Now we are going a bit, deeper now, and I want you to understand some terms and how they help you to schedule when you start using the software. Now, number one, right? Can we all mute, please? If you need to tell me something, just use the chat box, then I can respond to you. Okay, beautiful. So scheduling, just for the benefit of those of us that are getting exposed to MS Project for the first time, when we talk about scheduling, generally in project management, is the listing of activities, deliverables, and milestones within a project. So you list them. I am assuming we all know what a project is. I just hope my assumptions are not wrong. Let me see how many persons here that have attended my class before. Somebody has gone off. Okay, I think everybody here knows what a project is. A project is something, any temporary endeavor that has a start date and an end date and has an objective to deliver. That's just it. So if it does not have start date, end date, it does not have objective to deliver, and you cannot say this is the budget, you cannot list activities, it is not a project. So project management is actually, deploying skills and tools to project activities so that you can manage them, properly. Now, a project schedule is a timetable. So scheduling is you listing the activities and then sequencing them. We're going to see the process very shortly. But the project schedule itself is the timetable. So schedule is a timetable, while scheduling is the process of the listing, right? It's a process. So the timetable that organizes all your tasks, like I said, including resources now, with dates is called a project schedule. I'm going to share my slides, so let me just rush off on all this. Now, project scheduling process. We're going to look do this practically in a moment. Now, you define your activities, you sequence your activities. If there's need to sequence your activities, because usually activities, some are broken into summary tasks and subtasks. There are some activities that are interrelated that you need to summarize them under another major activity. It could be a milestone. It could be activities leading to a bigger, project. So you now need to estimate activity duration and then activity resources. Now, WBS is very, very important. We know what WBS is. It's just numbering. It's just the process of decomposing your work, breaking it down. For example, I want to, let me say, paint a wall. I want to paint a wall. Painting a wall cannot just happen as painting a wall. It will include, getting paint, cleaning the surface. You may want to scrub the surface. You may want to mix the paint. Then you may not want to apply the paint, right? If it's plastering, it has its own process. So the process by which you decompose your work elements or your activities into small measurable chunks that you can now easily estimate whether it's time you want to attach to it or cost you want to attach to it. That hierarchical decomposition is what we call a WBS, and it actually has numbering. So usually we number with very, very complex projects, but sometimes your numbering can get into level 4. It's part of what I wanted to show us on MS project. Sometimes you can have 1.1, 1.1.1.1, 1.1.1.1.4. So it becomes very, very complex. But with MS project, once you are done listing your activities on the software, it can just generate your WBS numbering for you. Easy. And I know, I don't need to tell you that some of us here know what a work package is. The lowest part of a WBS that you can estimate is what we call, the work package. I'm taking us through these familiar terms because once we start doing the practical, you will hear me using these terms. I wouldn't want us to wonder what the term is. So you break into WBS into work packages. That is the smallest level that can be estimated. All right, now let's go a little bit deeper. Let's look at some other terms that you need to understand before we start using the scheduling tool, right? Now, what is a predecessor? A predecessor activity is the activity that happens before another activity. The activity after is the successor, while the activity before is the predecessor. So it's as simple as that, right? So let me stop sharing my screen a bit and ask if you can see me. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see the board behind me? Is it visible enough? Is it clear?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Yes, we can see.
yes.
Okay. So I just want to I will just do 2 graphs on this screen, and then I will use it to explain most of the terms I want to explain now. I believe we can see it a bit better, right? Now, so I just gave example of maybe to paint a wall, right? I give an example to maybe paint a wall. Is it bold enough?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So paint a wall. What did I say? Okay, we can, maybe 1 or 2 persons can unmute now so that you will help me. What did I say? It's what did I say are some of the processes to help us paint the wall? I think I mentioned something like
Prepare the wall.
prepare the wall. Process of preparation. Can you just be more specific?
Cleaning.
Say clean the wall.
Clean the wall.
Clean wall. So I can call this 1.1, right? 1.2. After that, what do you do next? I want to use this to explain some terms. So I want us to follow me so that we can grab it. I think after cleaning the wall, you need to get your pen, right? Get mix pen. Or just think of any activity that you need to do to clean.
Sure, yes.
Then
Get your scaffold.
okay, let me just say prepare scaffold. Then we can now go ahead and let's say apply pen, right?
Application.
After apply pen, is that all? Is there another thing? Let me just say clean up or clean environment, right? It can be the environment, it can be your tools, right? Now, paint wall is like a summary activity here. Then we have 1.1 to 1.5 as the sub task, right, under the summary activity. So painting wall, cleaning wall is a successor activity to painting wall, right? Why painting wall? I mean, cleaning wall is predecessor to, it can be predecessor to getting the paints, but we're going to understand later. You know, some of these things, I told you there's a way they can relate. Sometimes you can do them together. Sometimes you can do one before one. But of course, things like getting paints is a predecessor to applying the paints. Application of paints is a successor to getting or mixing the paint. You cannot apply paint until you get or mix your paints, right? I'm skipping this intentionally, but I'm going to show us shortly where some of these things relate. Now, let me quickly admit somebody into class. It said he's having issues entering class. A minute, please. Did any other person have issue with this link? Okay, I'm done. So let me go back to my screen now and take two other activities. Then I'll come to the board to illustrate. Please, can you confirm that you can see my screen again?
Yes, Wes.
Okay, now the predecessor is the first task. It controls the start or end date of all other related tasks. Now, let me ask, now that I am projecting, can you still see the board clearly?
Small.
Eh?
Smaller, we are seeing, but smaller.
Smaller.
Not clearly.
Not clearly, so I will have to be toggled between. I wanted to just explain something. How about now? I want to see whether I can keep both the board and the... Okay, don't worry. I'll go back to the board. Now, what I'm trying to say here, it controls the start or end date for related successor tasks. I will explain this later. Now, the reason is because if you begin to schedule on MS projects, there is what we call task dependencies. Usually, you can make a note of this. Usually, the successor tasks are dependent on the predecessor's tasks. So, in scheduling successor tasks, as much as you can, link it to your predecessor tasks. Now, when you link it, it does two things for you. Number one, you don't need to enter the start date and end date of your successor task because it's connected to predecessor task. The software will automatically link it to the predecessor task, and from the start or end date of the predecessor task, depending on the relationship, it will give you the start date of the successor task. Now, I will stop sharing my screen and let me explain this concept a bit. Let me see the next thing. Okay, task dependencies. Good. Now, let me explain this a bit. Can you see my screen a bit better now?
Yes.
You can see my screen better now. So, permit me to now, we have an idea where I'm going now. So, if, for example, I said mid spent is the predecessor of apply spent. What I'm saying is very simple. When I start teaching us how to schedule it on an MS project, this is what I'm saying. That make sure that even if there are other tasks in between, even if there are other activities in between mid spend and apply pen, right? Because you know that you cannot apply pen until this one is mixed. Whether in between you are getting scaffold, whether in between you are scrubbing and cleaning the floor, make sure that you link apply pens to mix pens, so that if you say start date of apply pen is tomorrow, of mix pen is tomorrow is 13th July. If the start date here is 13th July, and maybe you need 1 day, or let's say it's a large project, you need 3 days to mix pens, and you have 3 days to mix the pens. This is start date, this is duration, then this is end, right? That means you are likely to end on, we're just doing manual calculation now, on 16th, right? But like I told you, for a large project, the software helps you to calculate this automatically. You don't need to actually bother yourself with when it will end. The software will calculate it. The software will look at your relationship and calculate it. Now, what you will now do is to link. If you link it, let me note this down so that if you don't get it when we start practical, you will ask me a question on it. I will show you how to link it when we start. Now, if you link it, the software will automatically schedule apply pens to start on the 17th of July. Can you manually enter this date? Yes. Will it work for you? Yes. But what is the disadvantage? When you want to start generating reports at the other end, your reports are not tying together. So as much as I can, even if sometimes activities are not related, I try to tie it to one thing. Then I've had a project, some of us here can bear witness, very large projects, like the one I tried showing us. We had over 250 activities. I tried counting. We've had projects that had over 500 activities. We've done a building project of 400 units. Some of us, I wanted to actually show the Gantt chart and the schedule of that project. Sometimes it's managed in the office, and people on site may really not know the number of activities. So something that took us like 1 year or 18 months can have up to 500 activities. So what I do is I tie it to the I always ensure that other activities must be tied to something. We've had a case where we'll finish planning project, we mobilize to site, then the project will stop, bam. And then we will not go back until after 1 month. Then when we need to go back after 1 month, do you know that sometimes they will tell us to, okay, rearrange your baselines. Budget may have changed, and then timing may have changed. You know the advantage of linking. The advantage of linking is that you will not need to go back and do your MS project all over again. Because every activity, the successor activities are linked to the predecessor activity, immediately you come and change only one thing. For example, I change this 13. So maybe the project is now starting on the 20th of August. All I need to do is to change my predecessor to 20th of August, and every other successor activities, it schedules it for me automatically. Both their start dates, their end dates, their cost, it will go to my report and adjust my cash flow, and it just makes my work easy, so that when I finish doing the cash flow, even if the cash flow is a cash flow of 24 months and the spreadsheet is 100 pages, I will not need to go back to each of those 100 pages to change anything. Why? Because I linked my successor activities to my predecessor activities. So I want us to note that rule number 1, never schedule a project on the MS project and allow any activity to stand alone. It must be linked to a predecessor. It must be linked to a predecessor. We're going to do it practically, so you're going to see how to link to a predecessor. Okay, so thank you, those of us that just came in. Thank you, Mr. McKing. You are welcome to class. I missed when you joined. Mr. Jimo, you are welcome to class. I think almost everybody is in except one person. I don't know who that one person is now, but one person. Okay, Shaibu John, he was here earlier on, but he's out. So welcome to class. Don't worry about what you have missed. We have just been discussing terms that will help or that we must understand before we go into the practicals. So I'm going to share this video. I'll share my slides so you can, the video will be more beneficial. The slides, I don't have too much information in the slide, but you will see the video. So let me take the next set of terms I want us to be familiar with that will help us schedule our project accurately. Then I will now stop sharing my screen and come back to the board to explain it. So I am sharing my screen again now. And because of the issue we have before, I want us to be confirming now. If you can see my screen, please. Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Very much.
All right. So now we're going to talk about past dependencies. I just explained that you must link your successor activities to your predecessor activities, but based on what? It has to be based on something. You can't just be linking them like that. So there's what we call activity relationships or dependencies. Now, basically, there are 4 of them, right? There are 4 of them. Now, when you get this slide or the video, you can read all this for yourself. Let me just move straight to the dependencies. Now, the first one is finish to start. I know some of you are familiar with it. So we have finish to start. We have the start to start relationship. We have start to finish relationship. So between what I'm saying is between your successor and your predecessor, there must, when I say link them, you can't just be linking them vaguely. They must be linked based on one relationship. It can be okay. What just came to my mind is some relationships can be acquaintance friendship, some can be deep friendship, some can be boyfriend and girlfriend, some can be marriage relationship. But there must be, if you want to marry them, you have to marry them in a certain way, whether it's court married, finish to start can be court, start to start can be traditional, but you must relate them using any of these 4 dependencies. We are going to learn how to use them, shortly. Now, what is the finish to start relationship? Finish to start. So I will run through the 4. As soon as I run through the 4, I will stop sharing my screen and go and demonstrate them again using these mixed pens and apply pens. Finish to start means that the successor activity cannot start unless the predecessor activity finishes, right? Or the predecessor activity must finish before successor can start. For example, land must be purchased before you can begin to, before clearing can start. So when you are scheduling your project, you cannot say, you want to clear a land you have not, but just like you cannot apply paint without buying or mixing the paint, right? So that's finish to start relationship. We are going to demonstrate it practically. So just hold on and follow me. Tonight's class, right? I want to just be a bit broad. I'm going to say a lot of things. Then we will close. We will now go and just ruminate on them. Then on Saturday, we are going to do more practical, but we'll do a bit of practical today. Finish to start. Then start to start means the successor activity. Now you know what the successor activity is and what the predecessor activity is. The successor activity cannot start unless the predecessor activity starts. So in these two activities we have on this board, right? Mix paint and apply paint. You can use whether finish to start relationship or start to start relationship for them. I'm going to explain that when we get to the practical. Another relationship that task can have is finish to finish. It means the successor activities cannot finish unless the predecessor activity finishes. The successor activity cannot finish unless the predecessor activity finishes, right? I'll give an example of that when we also start. Now, for example, I have an example. The block laying must complete before weak concrete can be completed. So you can see if you now want to do if you are laying block and you want to fill it with weak concrete, for example, those of us who are familiar with this kind of process, you will discover that this is the kind of relationship that is best for these two activities. So that somebody cannot tell you that, have you finished filling all the block with weak concrete? Yes. And then we go to site. The mason is about laying one block. So when you want to relate them, you must relate them in your MS project that is a finish to finish. Successor, which is weak concrete, cannot finish unless the mason has finished laying block. Let me see, for start to start, for example, setting out must start before excavation can start. So things like setting out and excavation, that's the kind of relationship that is good for them. Then, of course, we have start to finish, like the successor activities cannot finish unless the predecessor activity starts, or predecessor must start before successor can finish. For example, excavate 300 mm around foundation must start before tyrolene can be completed. So even if tyrolene have started and the work program demands that you should excavate round before you do your tyrolene, you cannot say you have finished tyrolene without, excavation, right? Let me see the next thing. Okay, beautiful. Before I take this, let me quickly explain these relationships, because I will use that relationship to explain what lead and lag is. Can you confirm that you can see the board?
Yes.
Good. For example, let me call this 1.1 and maybe 1.3, right? If I have 1.1, let me take this back to what it was. I think it was 1307, right? If 1.1 is starting on, okay, let me use the black. If I have tomorrow's date is 13, then the next date is 14th. The next date is 15th. The next date is 16th. Sorry, excuse me. Let me just remove the month to get more space. Can you see, please, 13, 14? Can you confirm that you can see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we're seeing.
15th, 16th. For those of us who are not familiar with the software, right, it may look a bit cumbersome tonight, but don't worry, please. Don't worry. You will get it, because I will try as much as I can to keep repeating. And like I said, you're entitled Thursday and Friday, you're entitled to just barge into me and just drop a message for me, say that I found this part of the class difficult. And like I said, I will give you 30 minutes of my time. I will give you a suitable time to organize a one-on-one Zoom meeting to ensure everybody catch up on this before our Saturday class. Now, I have 17th, I have 18th. I'm just assuming this is a daily project now. Now, watch. 1.1, we already know what 1.1 is, mix depends, right? We said it's starting on what? On the 13th, right? Right? One or two can unmute, so that I can be sure you are hearing me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Beautiful. Now, so 1.1 is starting on the 13th, right? And we say 3 days. 3 days means 13th, 14th, and what? And 15th, right? Then manually, can you see that I've put 17 here to start applying of pens? So what do you think it will look like? Let's watch now. 1.3. 1.3. Let me go to 17th. Now, this, when we start using the software will do some of what I'm doing now for you. So you don't need to. Let me go to 17. This is 17, right? I have said that to start on 17. Let's say it will go for 2 days, right? This is a small word that can be done into this. Now, finish to start relationship usually is depicted this way. Finish to start relationship is depicted this way. Is this green marker clear or is faint?
Faint.
It's faint. Okay, let me just continue using black. So you can have a bar this way, right? Then usually finish to start, you will see something like this. So it means the end date of this task is the start date of this task, right? Just finish to start. Then now I will tell you how this will vary very soon when I start talking about lead and lag. Sometimes it doesn't happen like this, just the way it is right now. I'll tell you that. But just for you to know that, for start to start means as soon as this is 1.1, this is 1.3. Start to start means as soon as 1.1 starts, 3 days, right? This is a longer bar. Then 1.2 can also start. So any activity that has a start to start relationship is likely to look like this. Let me cut this short a bit, right? It has lesser duration. It's likely to look like this, start to start. So you can, if you are taking notes, you can just draw it down so that you have an idea even when you are doing the. I will clean this off shortly to go back to lead and lag. Now, finish to finish is likely to look like this on your MS project Gantt chart. So when you do a finish to finish relationship, it's likely to look like this on your project Gantt chart. Then we have what's the next one? Start to finish, right? It means the predecessor has to start for this to finish. So the relationship will also look like a finish to finish. It needs to start for this to, it looks this way. It will overlap. It needs to start for that to finish. So you can see the way this is now. This is my 1.1. This is my 1.3. It means this is a finish to start to finish means the successor activity cannot end until the predecessor activity starts. So you will see that kind of examples as we go ahead. Now, let me take the next two terminologies we need to understand. Then I will come back here and explain, because all these terms are linked. So I want us to understand each of them. You can make notes and then ask questions. If you understand each of them, it's easy for us to schedule better. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's look at lead and lag, right? I want us to take lead and lag, pay a bit of close attention, because lead and lag is very, very necessary and important when you are scheduling a project. The reason is because this is what determines projects that can be done in parallel and projects that cannot be done in parallel. Parallel means they can work together, they can happen together. For example, initially we had, who can remember the other activities we had for painting a wall? We mentioned something like clean wall, right? We mentioned something like clean wall. Am I correct? Am I correct?
Yes.
Good. So things like clean wall and mixed paint, they can go together. They can go together. So now a lead or lead time, lead, lag, float, they are actually a unit of measuring time in project scheduling. They are a unit of measuring time quantity. So lead is the amount of time that the successor activity can be advanced in respect to a predecessor activity. Now, let me differentiate the two. I will read the two before I stop sharing my screen. Now, lag time is the amount of time whereas a successor activities can be delayed in respect of the predecessor activity. Now, let me stop sharing my screen. Now, let me explain this. I want to clean this now, please. Now, let me explain this. What did we say the lead time is? What did I say the lead time is? Okay, where a successor activity can be advanced, right? While lag is the amount of time successor activity can be delayed. Now, watch. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen clearly? Can you use the chat box? Let me see if you can hear me. I need to know that you can hear me. Okay, please. Thank you. I have a feedback. Now, let's watch what I'm going to do with this activity now. I have mixed pens and I have applied pens. I have clean wall. Now, if I want to relate mix paint and apply paint, I will ask myself as a project manager. Now, I'm just using building here. It can apply to any other thing. I will give us an assignment, and probably on Saturday, I will use a non-building related example. The reason is because right now in my life, even in my house, I use MS Project to manage something. If we are doing, maybe I want to do annual plan, or we have something to do in the family, I'll tell my wife, hold on, let me put it on MS Project so that it just give me an idea. This 2023, in January, February, March, some of these things you say you want to buy or do in the house, let's attach them to different months and know how much it will cost us. So I can actually use in my personal life. So it's not just because it's a building project. It can be applied everywhere, right? Now, lead, this is what lead says. The amount of time a successor activity can be what? Advanced. Is it possible to advance apply paints? So what do I do now? What I'm going to do here is, if I now want to relate 1.3, which is to apply my paint, if I want to relate it to mixing my paint, I will now say 1.3 will be equal to 1.1. I want it to be a finish to start relationship. Finish to start relationship simply means I want 1.3 apply paint will be equal to mix paint in a finish to start relationship, right? I will now, if I leave it as this, it will appear like this. It will give me 1.1, and it will allow my applied paint to just start immediately after this one finished. Now, if I introduce a lead time means, do I want to advance applying of paint a bit? Now, this is applicable if maybe it's a very big building, for example, and it has maybe 6 sites. If they finish cleaning, if they finish mixing paint enough for 1, 2, 3 sites, you can begin applying of paint while they are still mixing the other part of the paint. That's where lead comes in. You now say, no, let me use lead of maybe 2 days. Now, this is it. I will now say 1.1 finish to start relationship. I am giving instruction to the software now. I'm telling the software, schedule apply paint to relate with mixed paint in a finish to start relationship. The software understands it. Once you type FS, it understands it and it's locally calculates for you. That's how the software is programmed. You will now say 1.1 finish to start. You will now put minus maybe 1. You know what this means? It means I want to advance application of paint in relation to mixing of paint by 1 day. Now, let me just quickly say this because people misunderstand it. Can I confirm if you can see this part of the board? Can you see where my hand is?
Yes.
Just put this at the back of your mind, please. Lead carries a negative sign. Lead carries a negative sign. Lag carries a positive sign. You can take note of that. Lead carries a negative sign when you are putting it on your MS project. Lag carries a positive sign. So immediately the software sees 1.1 FS minus 1. The software knows you are instructing it to advance application of paint in relation to mixing of paint by 1 day. So the software, immediately you type this and you click enter, you know what the software will do? Automatically, this will just adjust. Let's assume this is divided into 3 days this way. Let's just assume it's divided into 3 days this way. Or let me divide it into 4. Let's assume it's divided into 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So see what the software will do. The software will now advance application of pen by 1 day. Can you see? Can you see now? Instead of this former one that was like this, this one says that the mixing of pens must be entirely finished before this one starts. But this one says that the mixing of pens does not have to finish. Advanced application of pens by 1 day. Can we see the 2 bars there? Can we see it?
Yes.
Good. So if I name this A, I name this B. Even though they don't look alike, they have the same relationship. What is the relationship? Finish to start. But the difference between A and B is that A is finished to start with 1 day lead time, while B is finished to start with 0 lead. Let me take that again. A is advancing the successor activity, which is application of pens by 1 day. That is finished to start relationship with a 1 day lead. Immediately you put this -1, it leads it by 1 day. Meanwhile, B is what? Finished to start relationship of mixed and apply pens, but without a lead, 0 lead, right? Can we follow me? You can unmute and reply me. Can you follow me?
Yeah.
Okay. A quick test, please. Somebody should get ready to answer this question. Okay. I have another relationship here, right? If this is day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, right? Who can tell me what this is? Can we see it?
Yes.
Who can read this? What's the relationship here? C. What's the relationship between, this is my graph C. This is my 1.1 mixed pens. This is my 1.3 applied pen. Who can tell me the relationship here? Let me take it again. A is applied pens is having relationship with mixed pens in a finish to start relationship with a 1 day lead. So the successor activity is being advanced by 1 day in A, but B has a 0 lead. So what is the lead time of C as it relates? Who can just explain the lead time?
3 days.
Okay, so
3 days.
3 days.
3 days.
Okay.
Yes.
So can somebody explain this now? If you want to give instruction to the MS project, how will you go about it?
1.3 equal 1.1 fs minus 3.
Fs minus 3. Beautiful. Now, immediately you enter that command, you will just, like magic, you will just see your bar. It will just pack, it will just move like that. Now, let's demonstrate lag now. Let's demonstrate lag. If I want to do A now and I want it finish to start, if I apply plus here, what will happen? Who can just tell me what is happening? If I put plus here now, am I still doing lead or I'm doing lag?
Lag.
Lag. So what do you think will happen to A once I give instruction 1.1 FS plus 1, let somebody else answer, not Mr. Johnson. Not Mr. Johnson. I want everybody to, not Mr. Johnson, not Mrs. Banker. Not Mrs. Banker. Let me mute you, Mrs. Banker. Can I take someone else? I want to call name. Mr. Zamfara, are you in this class? Are you following?
I'm following, sir.
Okay, all right. Do you understand
hearing...
where we are now and what I'm trying to explain?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if I introduce plus 1 here, just describe for me what will happen to this bar. Let me adjust it as you are describing.
So introducing.
I have changed -1 to +1. If you do that on my MS project, what do you think will happen to the bar?
The bar will move forward. The second bar will move forward. That is a delay.
A delay in the successor activity, right? So
yes,
it will now leave 1 day to skip. So we have delayed the successor activity by 1 day. Very good. Thank you so much, Mr. Zamfara. Did you get that? Mr. Sukomi, did you get it? Miss Esther, did you get it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, great. So if you want to give that instruction to MS project, it automatically goes. So that's what lag is about. So let me not spend much time on that. Let me go back to sharing my screen and let me take 1 or 2 other terms. And then now I'm taking my time here because I know that if we go straight into the software and we don't understand these terms practically, or so for some of us already know it, if we don't refresh our mind on these terms, we may not be able to flow properly. So can you confirm if my screen is back?
It's back, sir.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so like I was saying, lead is portrayed by negative sign, whereas lag is positive. Now let's continue. Lead and lag are imposed on the project by the project manager. I want us to listen to this part very, very seriously. Lead and lag are always imposed by the project manager on a critical or not a critical part based on some kind of logical relationship. Now, what is a critical path? A critical path of your project is the longest path on your project that if you delay any activities there, right, it is going to affect the end date of your project. When we begin to do network diagram, I'll show us how to identify your critical path. Now, for a small project, it's easy to just do it manually. But for a very large project, you need MS project to know your critical path. You can be handling a project that has over 200 activities. How will you know, and you have linked all your predecessor and successor activities, how will you know the path that is the longest, that if you tamper with any activity there to adjust your end date, it is MS project that can do that to you. So in applying lead and lag, we need to be careful. That's why I'm bringing this here. You need to be careful not to apply a lag on your critical path. So if you want to apply a lag, which is trying to delay activities, make sure it is on a non-critical path, right? Now, let me just pause here. It's out of the scope of this class, but let me tell us something. Who knows the difference between crashing and fast tracking a project? Who can quickly tell me? Let me just refresh our mind. Tracking and fast tracking a project. Oh, Mr. Kennedy, you are in class. I didn't see you until now. Welcome. How is Joss? Okay, you can't hear me now. Anybody? If you know what a lead and if you know what fast tracking and crashing a project is, you can just quickly let me know. If not, I will just put in the chat box if you don't want to talk.
Okay, I think crashing, when you crash a project, like you are adding resources. Am I right? I hope I'm not mixing it up. You're adding resources such that you are fast tracking the time. You want the project to end faster than scheduled. Then you add resources. Then when you are fast tracking, I've forgotten actually.
Okay, you have tried. Very good. Can one more person try before? Okay, so let me just, if somebody is trying to try, I can see. Mr. Johnson, are you coming on?
Yes.
Okay.
When you are crashing a project, you add more resources because you want to reduce the time. Assuming you're supposed to finish the project in 3 months, I want to finish it in 2 months. So you are fast tracking. You are crashing, so you add more resources so that you can lessen your time, but if you take more resources, then when you are fast tracking, you fast track.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I didn't get fast track.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Okay, let me start this way, right? Fast tracking and crashing. I'm bringing it up now because we are talking about critical path and non-critical path. Fast tracking and tracking are what we call schedule compression techniques. They are called schedule compression techniques. So if you hear schedule compression techniques, there are two ways to compress your schedule. Number one is to fast track the schedule. Number two is to crash. Now, fast tracking is simply doing as many activities as can be done in parallel. You do them together. While crashing is, you have identified that it will be risky for you to do them, in parallel. So you begin to you add resources to the project. For example, you can begin to how do I put it now? A work you're supposed to use 3 men for, you can use 5 more man for. The issue with fast tracking crashing is that it adds more cost to your project. Usually people don't like crashing because it adds costs to the project. You have to pay more for labor, you have to do a lot more anyway. Then but for fast tracking, the disadvantage of fast tracking is that it adds a lot of risk to your project. For example, your masons, you want to pay them the same man hour you are paying them, but now you want them to probably work, how do I put it now? You want them to maybe work to 6 p.m. You want them to work, at night. You understand? So there's tendency that the risk is that as you are trying to do so many things at the same time, you will lose quality. Now, that's not my point now. My point is lead and lag. If you want to apply lead, like I said, lag, rather, do not apply lag on a critical path. Apply it on a non-critical path because you are delaying activity. But when you are actually fast tracking a project, what you are actually doing is that you are adding leads to your project. And as you are adding leads to your project, you can do them on a critical path. Because if you lead or fast track on a non-critical path, it is not useful to you. It's actually useless to fast track on a non-critical path activity. You may want to pen that down. If you fast track or apply lead on a non-critical path activity, it's useless to your project. It doesn't save you anything. Let me demonstrate what I'm trying to say. I want to stop here. Now, permit me to wipe this now. I'm sure we have it in our head. if a project, for example, has activity A linked to activity B, linked to, sorry, is it clear? If we have activity A linked to activity B, linked to activity C, linked to activity D, linked to activity E, and let's say each of them has two days, can we see the board?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, beautiful. Now, naturally, because all your relationships are finished to start with 0 leads. Do you understand what I mean now? That's why I wanted to take us through this term. Now I'm using the terms to talk now. All these 5 activities, A to E, they are finished to start relationships with 0 lead time. You understand? Now, if I have another part of my project, for example, maybe this is during foundation, then I have another part of my project that has activities X, activity Y, activity Z, right? If this part is the non-critical part and this first part is the critical part, if I want to apply lag and I apply it here, it means some of my activities will be having delay. Like E now, if I put a lag between D and E now, if I put a lag time between D and E, it has automatically, it will add to project duration, because this is a critical part. It adds to project duration. But if I add it here, because this is a non-critical part activity, even if it is expanded, this is already like 10 days, this is like maybe 4 days. Even if I delay 1 or 2 activities here, as long as it is still within my 10 days, right? Do you agree with me that applying lag here does not affect the entire project duration? Do we understand that? Can I get a witness? I hope my network is still here.
Yes, we're understanding you, sir.
Okay, good. So I want to just be sure on that. Now, what I'm saying about lead now is, if you now want to advance a successor activity, which is applying lead time, it is best done and more useful to you when you do it here. When you do it here, it means that a 10 days duration, maybe you apply lead on E, it has reduced it by maybe 1 day. You apply lead on C, you have reduced it by reduce your schedule by another 1 day, right? Before you know, you have gained 2 days. The same way, when you want to fast track doing activities in parallel and time is running against you on any project, I can see most of us here, we are actually bosses on project sites, because I know some of us personally, I know we have a lot of project time. So it is advisable you check your critical part first before you go and start deploying resources. Madam Ms. Banke and Johnson said crashing is applying resources. If you go and deploy resources and put more money on activities that has nothing to do with your duration, it's not on your critical part, you just wasted money. So if you want to fast track and crash, all your fast tracking techniques and okay, let me put it this way, L schedule compression techniques should be applied on a critical path to be able to save time on your project. So that if you are pumping in resources, you are adding risk to the project by fast tracking or adding more money to the project by crashing, you will know that you are doing it to save time because it's on the critical path. You do it on a non-critical path, you just succeeded in wasting your money. Now, let me take us through the next terminology, and then I will now come back here, right? Can we see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let me just take you also hear me using the word float in our as we go on. Float is just an activity duration, where a task can be delayed without having impact on the early start date and the total duration. It's just very simple, right? Float can only exist on a non-critical path. So if you want to apply lead and lag, you will ask yourself, if you want to make it plus 2 days, for example, or plus 1 day, or plus 3 days, you need to ask yourself first, what is the float of where I want to apply it? Float simply means that if I delay this activity by adding +1 lag, will it affect the earliest start date, or will it affect my project duration? So if, for example, let me see what I have next. I want to just stop sharing my screen a bit, and then okay, beautiful. So I think I can take all the terms I have now. Now let's look at the board. Let me just explain that float and or slack principle. Whether you're using float or slack is the same word, right? Now, if I want to apply a lag here, let's look at this first path, critical path and the non-critical path. Let's say I have 10 days before. I have applied lead here. I have gained 2 days. It has taken me to what? To 8 days, right? I have saved 2 days. So from 10 days, I have reduced my project duration to 8 days. This can happen when clients just come and say, I abandoned a job for someone who didn't know either the family was coming from abroad. No, he thought the family would come from abroad maybe December, a week or two to Christmas, only for plan to change, and they say they want to come and spend more time before Christmas, and they decided to come. Is it first week of December or last week of November? I don't understand. I can't remember. So the client said that the time we thought we had to do it before reduced by 3 weeks. So you need to start crashing and fast tracking because the house was finished and the family is arriving from abroad. So some of these terms I'm telling us, it's actually real. It happens in real life. Some of us have experienced it. So if I have reduced, because I want to reduce, I have reduced it by 2 days. I now have 8 days. Then on my non-critical part, and I want to now apply is a lag now. If this is 2, 4, and already have 6 days here, what is the maximum lag time that I can put on this part? Either between X and Y or between Y and Z. What's the maximum? I need an answer. What's the maximum lag time? I want us to study the board very well. I will take my question again. This used to be 10 days. Is my critical path. I have reduced it to 8 days. Now, I want us to follow me, right? Because I'm going to give us an assignment. And when we come in the next class, my illustration will be based on one of your assignments, right? Because some of these things, that is when we start doing the assignments at practical, that you understand how to apply these things. So I want us to understand. This was 10 days. I now apply lead between D and E to save 1 day. I applied another lead between B and C to save 1 day. Now I have 8 days. But I have the same project. I have another part that is non-critical, the network diagram, and it's 6 days. Now I want to apply a lag here because probably I discovered that maybe the wall I thought would dry for me to paint in 2 days. Every rain now fell. Okay, I can hear somebody replying via the chat box, 2 days. Okay, yeah, that's correct. So the maximum lag I can put here now is 2 days, because if I do more than 2 days, it has done what? It will now exceed my critical path. So the non-critical path will now enter the danger zone and become critical for me. I will now not have solved problem. So I have wasted money to crash and fast track my critical path, only for me to now go and add lag that will now extend. So if I want to do lag between maybe Y and Z, the maximum I can do is what? It's a 2 days lag.
2 days.
Now, float says that it is the time unit by which a successor activity can be delayed without affecting the total duration of the project. Do we understand that now?
Yep.
So it means that, like somebody answered, if I do more than 2 days lag, my project falls at a risk. So float there now is the activity duration where a task can be delayed. So what is the float here now? The float on this part is what? 2 days, right? Float is 2 days. Now, when you are using MS Project, there's what we call buffers. Sometimes I create buffers, reserves. There's what sometimes we call it padding. Padding is not the professional word. It's better you use the word reserve or buffer zones. That means you can add maybe 1 or few hours to your duration. Maybe you ask your mason, how long will you do this? You ask 3 masons. You can decide to just add 1 in case somebody takes ill. You understand? Now, like I wrote here, the project manager uses expert judgment and his discretion to apply buffers and all that. Then a Gantt chart. I'll talk more about Gantt chart, in our next class. It's a graphical representation. All right, so starting a new project, right? Now, let me see. Do we have any question before do we have any questions so far? I want to take another 10 minutes to introduce us now. Okay, I can hear a question. Do you need to apply a lag on activities on a non-critical path? You can if need be, but make sure your lag is a non-critical path. You can. For example, let me see now, a perfect example. So class, I have a question right now before me, if you're in the chat box. It says, do you need to apply a lag on activities on a non-critical path? Let me look for a practical example to answer that question. You are scheduling a project. Let me put it this way. Okay, let me use plastering. Very good. Let me see. Let me use plaster a wall. This is plaster a wall. Then let's say this is paint a wall, right? You want to schedule this to have a finish to start relationship. So I'm answering this question now. If you discover that these 2 activities has a finish to start relationship, that means it is likely to be something like this. Paint. This is, I have changed the relationship to a finish to start. The plastering must finish before paint must finish, before painting can begin. Now, if you want to schedule this project now, because you're a professional, if you don't work on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, you will look at your project. Is plastering ending on a Friday or Saturday, and the following day is maybe no work or it's a public holiday? If it is true, you do not need to add a lag. But if they are finishing this work on a Tuesday and painting is coming after plastering, you will need to add a lag, because you know that they can appear the following morning to start painting this wall, and the plastering that they did the day before, maybe the masons worked late till about 6 p.m. So when you are scheduling this project, if this is 2 and this is 3, you can input in your software. You can say 2, that's your 3 now, paint will be equal to 2 MS plus your expert judgment. Do I need 1 day lag or 2 day lag to allow the wall dry? You can now put for it +2. So it's your activities actually that will determine whether you should apply a lag or not a lag. So do you need to apply a lag on activities on a non-critical path? When it's necessary from your expert judgment, you can apply a lag. Now, the next question might now be, what if these two activities, what if they are on your critical path? If they're on the critical path, then what it means is you may not, you may need to just look at your project and see how these are parts of the activities you may not be able to, how do I put it now? You may not be able to compress or do anything. But what you can now do here, if you want to of course, if it's a critical part, you cannot push forward, but you can now schedule a whole lot of activities to start before then. For example, the time in between it, you can use it for your scrubbing, mixing, scrubbing, mixing, preparing your surface. And like I told us, right, when something is on your critical path, as much as you can, avoid using a lag. Rather, apply any of your schedule compression techniques. You can ask your team, they can come up with ideas. I know people who artificially dry wall because they want to get it painted. So if you are time pressed that way, you can actually go to your critical path and do a lot of things. But most importantly, try as much as you can to apply your schedule compression techniques on critical path while you are applying your lag on your non-critical path. Do I have any other question? I want to try and see if I can share my screen again. Any other question? Thank you so much, Mr. Dennis, for that question. Any other question? If you don't want to type, you can just unmute yourself and talk. If not, I want to try to see if I can share my screen again. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful. You know what I think happened? It's as if that MS project I wanted to show us is if maybe I put security on it so that not everybody can open it. So I'll need to go and unsecure that thing I wanted to show us. Now, what you can see on the screen now is what the MS project interface looks like. I want us to just take, this is 7:30 already. We're supposed to be closing now, but just give me 10 minutes because of the time we wasted when I was trying to adjust my screen sharing before. Just give me 10 minutes and then I'll give us assignment and we can come and continue the real cocoa of the matter on Saturday, right? But don't forget that between Thursday and Friday, you can come to me for any refresher, either via Zoom, WhatsApp call, or you can walk into my office, anytime. Now, so what I'm going to do now is to see how far I can just go today, starting a new project and setting up your project. So project information, setup, how to adjust your Gantt chart and all that. Now, how many of us have MS projects on our system? Let me just know how many persons so that as I'm talking, I will know how much time I need to spend on it. You can use the chat box. You can just answer. If you have MS project, just type, yes, I do. Okay, Mr. Dennis does. Who else? Canada does. Beautiful. Please, can you add, Johnson, thank you. Can you add your version, please? Let me know. 2007, 2010, 2012, 2019. Chimeze, I don't. Okay. I want to know how many people do, how many people don't. Dennis, Canada, Chimeze, I don't. Canada is 2016. Beautiful. Can I get 2 more responses? Okay, I have Primavera. Okay, Mr. Jimo. Okay. Okay, Mr. Dennis, 2016. Okay, beautiful. So the interface I am using right now is similar. Mr. Johnson, 2013 is actually similar to 2016, but what I have is 2019. Now, there has been a lot of changes, right? I think I started the first one we use 2022. Oh, Mr. Jimo is the most current person in this class. Even me is 2019 I'm using. Okay. So I think I started with 2007, but with 2007, this cash flow generation was not very, very possible. But from 2010 all the way to 2013, you can generate cash flows. And when you generate the cash flows, you don't need to do any work on them. I don't know how 2016. I'm not sure I've used that video. From 2013, I think I went to 2019. But I think from 2016, 2019, you will need to do a little adjustment after generating your cash flow. So I believe the interface I have now is not very strange to all of us. So let me just project my slide and just show us what I'm about to do right now. So we're going to start a new project. We're going to see how to set up project information, Gantt charts. You will have a spreadsheet. When you open it, you see a spreadsheet. Then you are going to enter information in 2 ways. So I'm going to be entering information in 2 ways. You can either enter it directly in the spreadsheet as if you are entering, you are typing in Excel, or you can double click on a cell and the pop-up window, you can enter all your information for the activity. For predecessor activities, you need to write activity number. So you can see we have started already now. For predecessor activity, you need to add activity number. Then the software will calculate the start date and end date by itself. So everything I've just said now, let me try to quickly demonstrate it. Starting a new project. Now, if you want to start a new project, right, there are 3 ways. There are 3 ways to do that, or even 4 ways to do that, right? If you are given a system put in front of a computer and it's not your own, and you want to use MS projects, how do you know if there's MS project on that system? So because of our time, let me, okay, Olamide asked 2020. Because of time, let me not ask for answer. So right now, I think it's only maybe 1 or 2 persons that don't have MS project. And I'm happy that most of us have it and are already using it. So what it means is that what I'm doing now is actually a refresher course to some of us. And it is when we get to that cash flow reporting that some of us are going to be needing and discovering a lot of value in your MS project. Now, if you are put in front of a system, just for the benefit, I don't want to assume all of us know where to find it. Let me just mention this, please. Now, the system is not your own. The first place to find MS project is to go to the application. And if you go to the application, you can go to the Microsoft Office suite. When you click it, you are going to find MS Word, MS Excel, Access, PowerPoint, and project should be part of it. If you don't find it there or you cannot go there, if you check the system taskbar, most times, like my own, most of my applications, I pin them to my taskbar. Then some people also pin to their desktop. All you need to do is to double click and the screen you are seeing now will pop up on your screen, right? Or you open an existing MS project and see what I'm going to do now. If you open an existing MS project, you just go to File. When you go to File, you will see a place called New there, right? Once you click on New, you see it takes you to a place where you can click on Blank Page. There are some earlier versions. Once you click on New, it opens a new spreadsheet for you automatically. You don't need to start going to Blank Page and all that. So once I click on this Blank Page now, what happens is that it opens a brand new spreadsheet for me. Let me put it that way, which shows my interface, right? Now, MS Project, the newer versions comes with ribbons. The former versions, like 2.7, I think, comes with the menu bar and the taskbar. But this one comes with tabs and ribbon. Tabs is TAB. Ribbons is like your normal ribbon. So we have of course, the main menu, which is the file there. Then we have the task. We have the resource. We're going to be using these resources. Let me see. From our timetable, is it day 2 or day 3? Assigning of resources. When we start assigning resources. Then report. This is where we're going to be generating our cash flows from. Then we have the project tab. Once you open the project tab, you can see a lot of things. There's some of these things we're going to be used. Some of them, you will be the one to discover it yourself. Then during the 2 weeks of tutelage, any place you cannot use, you can now come to me when we are not covered. Then, of course, your view and other. So we're going to be concentrating basically on the task for today. So let's just take a very, very small project like painting a wall. Painting a wall. So the first thing you will do when you open a task like this is to try and give it a name. When you can give it a name, you select where you want to put it, and then you can give it a name. If you can see my screen, we may be able to just follow me. I'm looking for a place to keep this file. The advantage of making sure you know where you kept your file is so when you are looking for it, you will not look for it. Now this is okay. So let me put it inside MS training, right? So let me say MS. So I'm naming it MS Bootcamp Practice, right? MS Bootcamp Practice, and I'll click on save, right? So my spreadsheet now have a name, right? So let me choose what kind of project I actually want to schedule now. Let's assume is the project I've been talking about since, to paint a wall. To paint a wall. Now I've expanded the spreadsheet more. We can see more columns, right? We can see more columns. From task name, we can see duration, we can see start date, end date, we can see predecessor. Now, resource name, we won't do anything on resource name today, but we'll do it the next time. Now, go to this column. Can you see this column? Where there will say add new columns. You can go there and there's what we call percentage complete. You can use this to track your project. I'll show us that, maybe day 2 or day 3. You can see your actual cost. When you are assigning resources and you want to check how you are doing with your cost, this is where you come to track your project. I'll show us all that on day 2, day 3. So simple now. Let me just look at painting a wall, right? Painting a wall is what we've been talking about. Can we confirm if we can still see my screen?
Yes, we're seeing it.
Okay, beautiful. So I want to just bold my letter. And you can see what I'm typing in, right?
Yes.
Okay, to paint a wall, what are the activities we talked about before, right? So let me start from maybe drying wall, ensuring the wall is dry. Let me expand the entire thing to 18, right? Dry wall. So we can be talking, please. What's the next thing?
Clean the wall. Clean the wall.
I can't hear you.
Clean the
Okay,
wall.
so dry wall. Can we do prepare wall for painting or something?
Okay,
That's
beautiful. I like that. So let me just put prepare wall. Now let's just be talking, and then we can come back to edit later. Did you see? Okay, who can mention something else we need to do on this wall?
apply prime coat.
I didn't hear that.
Apply prime coat
Okay,
like a primer.
prime coat. Okay.
Yes.
I think we spoke about erecting scaffolding, right?
Yes. What else?
That will come before prime coat. Sure. Then
Yes.
apply prepare paint. Are we prepare paint? Mix paint. Okay. Then apply first coat.
Okay.
After primer.
That's priming.
That's prime coat.
That is second coat then.
Then
Apply paint.
apply paint, right?
Mm.
I think we'll need to screed.
Then clean.
Okay, so somebody is
Spreading
reading.
before prime coat.
Yes, I will
Or prime coat.
sequence.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Now
Clean work environment.
Now, before we let me just what I'm doing now is I'm just listing and then clean environment. So let's stop here because of our time, right? Okay, so let's do. So what can we do now? Can we? So can we rearrange now? So
Yes.
let me take now prepare wall, right? Can we see what I just did? Did you see what I just did?
No.
You list activity, you sequence your activity. What I'm doing now is sequencing. Now let me undo. Prepare wall is in the wrong position, right?
Yes.
After listing, I just discovered that, oh, I need to do this so that I don't need to delete and start going to rearrange. So see what I did. I highlighted that row, right? I took my cursor to the left on the number is number 5. Can you see? Then I just drag it. I just drag it up. As I'm dragging, can you see it moving? Can you see something moving? So once I get where I want it to be, I drop it, right? What's likely to be the next thing? So what I'm doing now is that I'm sequencing my activities, right? So what's the next thing? Prepare wall. Now, things like drywall, drying of the wall, screeding. Can I take screeding under drywall to come after drying wall? Can we see what I just did?
Yeah.
Can I move screeding to go under drywall? Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's correct, sir.
Beautiful. Then this prime coat, is it okay for it to come directly under screeding?
No, you mix
prime coat after screeding. Yes.
That's the first coat.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, mixing of paints. Can I take it a bit up since I know that I need to be mixing while I'm doing some other things? Maybe let me take it to maybe, let me just put it at right under painting of wall. Can we see that? Then erecting of scaffold. I think I can also do that while I'm preparing my wall, or I can erect my scaffold while I'm mixing paint.
Because you might need it in preparing the wall.
Yes. So now, what I want to do now, I want to actually insert some task, right? Because under apply paint, I want to be specific so that it will help me to cost. Let's not forget, everything I've been teaching about MS Project, estimation techniques, this is where it adds up now. To apply paint, it may not be very easy for the quantity surveyor to cost it, or your cost experts to cost it. So I think you can go ahead and break it down into the smallest work package possible. So why not I just tell him there is after my prime coat, there's a second coat, so that it will cost the price of second coat differently from third coat. It will help your client to know whether they want to just do one coat or not, depending on the cost. Do we understand what I'm saying now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. And because sometimes you may even want your second coat too, you may want to apply a lag for your second coat to dry well before putting the top coat. So sometimes it's not good to lump them together. Do we understand that now? Now, there is something I've not introduced. See what I'm about to do now. I want to introduce a new column so that I can have my WBS numbering. You understand? So let me introduce the column to come before my task name. So I'm inserting a new column. Oh, what did I do? I'm hiding. So what I'm doing, I'm inserting a column. Can we say a new column just inserted?
Yes.
Then I can go and introduce what? WBS. Can we see the numbering that just appeared, right? Can you see the numbering that just appeared?
Yes, we have seen it.
It has listed the activity into like 11, but we know that it is not up to 11 because some are subs. Now, all of this is going under painting a wall. Do we agree with me?
Yes.
So what I will do now, since I know painting a wall is the summary, is the main thing I'm doing, I'm only breaking them down to help me estimate my time and cost. Now on the day we are going to assign resources, I'm going to take us through costing a bit, M and L, so that we can learn how to assign resources. And maybe this is one of the projects we assign resources to. This my project and one of the projects you guys will bring on Saturday. Now, watch what I'm going to do now. I'm highlighting all of them, right? And then, can we see the two I went? Can we see where I went? Indent stacks. Did we see that? Did we all see that?
No,
Yes.
can you go back again?
Some people are quiet in this class. Let me call names of people I've not heard their voice. So call me. Okay, I've heard your voice once. Olamide, I'm not sure I've heard your voice.
I've been speaking since, sir.
Yeah, okay. I thought it's Jibo's voice I was hearing. Okay. Is Esther still in this class? No, Esther has dropped. Shaibo has gone up. Okay, so I want to hear everybody's voice. Mr. Kennedy, I've not heard your voice too. Now, I will undo now and go back. I will undo. Now, it's back the way it was, right? Now, let me even ask, after painting of wall, let me even say there is something else, like maybe there's an activity like maybe planting of flowers. Sorry, please. Let me quickly just do this. Prepare bed. Add soil. Add manure.
Plant flower.
I just want to do this quickly just to buttress a point, right? So let me do this is just like if you know how to use MS Word and spreadsheet, it's actually quite easy. That's why I say it's compatible. Now let me go again with what I did before. I want us to follow me now. So what I did before was simply this. I highlighted painting of wall, everything that's supposed to be under painting of wall. Can you see me highlighting? Can you see me
Yes, sir.
highlighting?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes.
Am I on the right track?
No.
No.
We
So
stop
I need
at
to
clean
go back.
environment.
You have to stop at clean environment.
Beautiful. Can you see? Clean environment is 11 now, right?
Yeah.
The next thing is planting of flower is number what? 12, right?
Sir.
Now, can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Under task, there is a place called schedule there, the ribbon called schedule. There is a menu called indent task. Can you see where I'm pointing at now?
Yes.
I'm using it to create hierarchy to help me organize my tasks. I'm clicking it now. Can you see that I've clicked it?
Yeah.
Mrs. Banker, can you follow now?
Yes, I can see.
Now, you saw what I did now. Can you see that 11 has turned to 1.10, right?
Yeah.
And 12 has turned to 2.
So,
Because 3 to 6 are all under 2, I'm also highlighting them now, and I will do the same thing. Can you see that 3 has turned to 2.1?
Yes.
Now, let's go again. This prepare wall, I think drywall, screeding, and priming can go under them.
Yes.
So see what I'm going to do now. I will highlight drywall, screeding, and prime coat, and I'll go there again and dent it.
Yeah.
Can you see what it has done now? It has created a WBS level 3 for me, right?
Yes.
So can you see why I said that instead of using manually numbering, if you have 500 tasks, MS Project can do it for you. Now, there is something, if I had done all this before introducing this column, it will come automated, but I wanted you guys to just do it. It's doing it at the back end. The same thing, this apply paint, I can carry that 1.5 and 1.6, I can put them under 1.4. Can you see what it has done to my project now?
Yeah.
Did we all see that?
Yes.
So let's assume, right, I insert another 2 tasks under third code, right? Can you see that I've inserted 2 tasks under third code? Under third code, right?
Mm-hmm.
I won't name them anything, but immediately, if I want to, let's assume this, my new task that I call maybe A and B, let's assume they are under third code. You know what I will do first? I will carry all the ones under 1.4. I will dent them. After denting them, I will now carry the A and B under 1.4.2 and also dent it. It will now take it to the 4th level WBS, 1.4.2.2.1, 1.4.2.2. Are we getting this now?
Yes.
All right, please, you know what? Tomorrow I'll begin from here, how to auto schedule and how to now use our predecessor. Can we see this column called predecessor?
Yes.
Now I will teach us now. You know, I talk about successor, activity, predecessor, lead, lag, and all those things. I will apply them on this project tomorrow. But for tonight, I think we have done almost 2.5 hours, and we can call it a night or a day. Are there any questions for me? Okay, Mr. Aremu, I can see your hand.
Yes, sir. My question is that where you had the WPS, do you just insert the column? Once you
Yes.
insert the column, you just bring WPS. WBS.
Okay, good. Let me stop sharing so that I can answer this question well, right? Now, Mr. Lamide, can you? I'm looking for this thing, MS Project Bootcamp. Can you see my screen again?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Now, can you see this place where I'm pointing at now? Add new column.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Watch, I'm clicking one arrow beside it, right?
Yes, sir.
If I
Yes, sir.
click that arrow, can you see everything that just came up?
Yes, 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 yes.
So I can pick anyone I want there.
Okay,
I
okay,
just
okay,
scroll down
okay.
to W and pick WBS. If I want to track
Okay.
percentage completion for my project or percentage of work done, once I click on this, can you see percentage comes out, right?
Okay, 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 okay.
Now,
Okay.
if I'm managing my own project, I always like the percentage to be close to the activity for me. So I can actually carry it and move it. Can you see me moving it now? I can move it. Yeah, can you see? Can you see I've moved it?
Yes, sir.
Here?
Yes, sir.
So that I
Yes,
can
sir.
track the percentage of my project as I am moving. Thank you very much for your question. I can see another, and Mr. Sukomi, please bring your question on.
Okay, sir. Yeah, right on, sir.
Yes.
My question is before opening that MS
please,
project.
Sukomi. And Chimeze, you say you can't see my screen. Can you see it now? I just saw somebody's message. I can't see your screen.
I can see it.
You can see it now. Okay, beautiful. Mr. Chimeze, when I give assignment tomorrow, I can take some other kind of project that is not building related so that we can simulate, so that you can flow. But don't worry if you don't get everything tonight. By next class, you will get it a lot. And I don't know if you were here when I showed how to apply it. I will ask you direct question. In short, people that are not in the build environment, I can specially give them 1 hour to be able to tailor make a project that will make them function well in their own field. So Sukomi, let me hear your question now.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I said before opening the MS project app, so I don't know, maybe there's any settings that you put in place, or it's just automatic. Once you open it, at least you can just try and continue with the you can just try and continue with your work. Or
beautiful. Thank you for that question. I wanted to wait it to when you people go to practice, but can you bring down your hand so that it's not counting the number of hands raised for me? Okay. Let me see if I can do lower hand. Okay, beautiful. Now, Mr. Sukomi, can you follow my screen? Can you follow my cursor? Can you follow my cursor? Sukomi, are you still there? Okay, let me just go ahead and answer. You can watch the video later. So if you want to do any other, sometimes when you open new, it will bring you this page. But tomorrow, next class, I will show us how to do some setting. You need to actually come to project here. Click project information. So you can take that note down. Come to project, click project information. That, dialog box that just opened can help you to set your start date. Now, if you watch my project, is automatically putting my start date as today. So at this place, I can go ahead. Let's assume I choose next week, Monday's date, 17. If I click OK, I want you to watch now. If you see my project now is starting on 12th July. But once I click OK now, can you see it has changed to 17 July? Did anybody see that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
So when you go here, you can do a lot of settings here. You can set your start date. You can go to statistics. You can do some setting there. I'll show us that in our next class. Then you can also go and, for example, the time you are doing duration, maybe there's salary break, there's Christmas break. In this setting, you can go and change your working time. Can you see? Can you see this dialog box? You can go and introduce public holidays there. Once you identify, for example, if 26 is a public holiday, I will just go click 26 and just type maybe holiday 1, something like that. If I type holiday 1, I will put the date of that holiday there. If it's 2 days, I will just say that holiday 1 is happening from 26 to 28. Once I click OK, it has entered my calendar. As I'm scheduling my project, if I schedule anything on 25th and I put 4 days, it will skip 26 that I put only as holiday. It will skip 27 put as holiday. It will skip 28 and it will count 25th as day 1 and go and count 29 as day 2. All those settings, you need to do it at the back end. Another setting you might need to do is to go when we start entering. I'll show. Hello?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, somebody is saying something. Another thing you will need to go is to go and check how do I call it? Display setting. Our price here is being priced in US dollar. So usually I go to this place and I change to Naira so that when I'm doing my costing and I want to generate my cash flow report, because I go as far as doing cash flow on my MS project, I take my time to change all my settings to Naira. Can you see this dollar sign here? Can you see this dollar sign? Once I click here,
Yes, sir.
can you see it has changed to Naira? So
Yes.
that all my costing now automatically will be in Naira when I start applying price. So yes, there are settings you will need to do at the back end, depending on the extent to which you want this MS project to serve you. The function you need it to perform, you need to go to the back end and do all that. I will do all that before we start generating any report. All right, I can't see any other hand raised, and because there's no other hand raised, can we call it a day? Can we call it a day for tonight? And then our next class, let me just quickly go to our assignment. You need to write, please. You need to quickly note this assignment. You need to note this assignment. Okay, any question? We've taken questions and answers. Now, this is your assignment. If you want to screenshot it, screenshot it. If you want to screenshot. If you want to write. Submission date is 4 p.m. Saturday, July. List and sequence activities for any project of your choice. Either imaginary project, for those of you who are not doing any project now, but preferably, I want you to use an ongoing real-life project. The reason is because in case you have an ongoing project and you have challenges, or you want me to help you adjust some things, or you even want me to help you generate cash flow for an ongoing project, we can use that your ongoing project to practice. Or if you don't want us to use it to practice in the general class, maybe my 30 minutes with you, we can be using that your own project, so that by the time we are done with this training, a real life project that you have on ground, you have already attached all your resources to the back end by virtue of the training. So I will encourage you to have an ongoing real life project you will use, or something you are about to start. It can even be your life. It can be your annual goal for the year. Maybe your wife is working on something. Maybe you have a personal village work you are working on. You want to track. You can use it. But if you don't, you can use any imaginary project. Don't forget, I say a project is anything that has start data. It can be a birthday party you want to plan. Maybe your wedding is coming up. Those of you who are single, you can just use any project and then get back to me. All right. With that, I think we have come to the end of today's class. Thank you so much. You understand? So that's what I have to say to that for now. Now, I think we can call it a day. Yeah, please. You can chat me up privately. This class does not end. The next 2 weeks, like I told you, there's going to be personal tutelage. You can chat me up privately. I will give time to you as long as it doesn't exceed 30 minutes in a day. Thank you very, very much. I will see you in our next class.